down to rate decisions and how much to the threat of tariffs?
Yes, so, I think we did see a rally in the US stock markets yesterday, and a lot of that was down to what we heard Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell saying as far as the outlook of, well, the uncertainty he mentioned, but I think the fact that the Fed was sticking with the two expected rate cuts this year really did give a bit of a boost to the markets, which have fallen really sharply over the past couple of weeks. We've seen the Nasdaq down over 10% from its recent record high, the S&P as well. But we have seen a little bit of a recovery, as I said yesterday. We're seeing that slight recovery again today, but it does look like it's potentially losing a bit of steam. And the reason for that is because those concerns over Trump's trade tariffs remain. The Federal Reserve really highlighted the level of uncertainty that there is regarding the outlook with the outlook because of Trump's trade tariffs, and that is being reflected in the market. So I think in order really for the markets to really push higher and for sentiment to improve, we would probably need to see a pivot either from President Trump or from the Federal Reserve, and we're not seeing either of those right just now.
So uncertainty, you mentioned it twice. We're hearing a lot of that word, aren't we? Is that why gold has hit a record high?
Exactly. Gold, it's the safe haven asset of choice. It's the asset that investors tend to buy into when they're concerned about the geopolitical outlook, about the economic outlook, because it tends to perform well in those uncertain times. And as a result, we've seen investors dive into the precious metal, pushing it up to over $3,050 the ounce, as it's sort of, has seen record high after record high this year. It's up over 15% so far this year alone. So very strong rally in gold. Also, the fact that we've seen a weaker US dollar, that also helps gold, which is denominated in US dollars. So when there's a weaker US dollar, that does make gold more or rise as well.
Well, let's talk about that US dollar, because it's near 5-month lows at the moment, isn't it? Why is that? What's going on?
Yeah, so that's really interesting, because what we're seeing here is this sort of sell-off of US assets. So we've seen it not only in the US equities market, which, as I said, we've seen fall very sharply over the past few weeks, but we've also seen that sell-off in the US dollar. And that's quite unusual to see the sell-off in US equities and US dollar at the same time, because the US dollar is also considered a safe haven. But because of these Trump tariff concerns, because of fears over the economic outlook for the US and the prospect of a slowdown, that's actually weighed on the US dollar. At the same time, we've got the Bank of Japan, for example, talking about potential rate hikes. We've got Europe starting to look a little bit more encouraging as far as an investment opportunity is concerned. So we're seeing relocation as well away from the US dollar towards other currencies such as the euro or the Japanese yen.
Fiona, good to talk to you. Thanks again for joining us on the programme. That's Fiona Cincotta from City Index.
Thank you.
Well, the Bank of England has kept interest rates on hold, warning of global uncertainty. The decision to keep the base rate at 4.5% was widely expected, although the bank's governor, Andrew Bailey, insists it remains on a gradually declining path. Economists are predicting 2 more cuts by the end of the year.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says Europe must be part of diplomatic efforts to end the conflict with Russia. He made his comments as he addressed a European summit in Brussels, where leaders have been discussing ceasefire efforts, further support for Kyiv and bolstering European defence. Zelensky briefed them on his phone call with Donald Trump and accused Russian President Vladimir Putin of being responsible for the continued fighting.
Our teams will also work towards achieving